My name is Giacomo Lozzi and I'm Urban Freight Coordinator at POLIS, the European network of cities and regions working on transport innovation. In this module, we provide an overview of the European policy context for decarbonization of transport and logistics. In particular, we look at the strategies to make Europe climate neutral by 2050. The transport sector in Europe has several social, economic and environmental implications. Congestion produces inefficiencies, and European cities are facing issues in meeting air quality legal standards. In recent years, pressure on national governments and on the European Union has turned environmental issues into policy priority. As a result, the European Commission launched in 2019 the European Green Deal. The Green Deal is a strategy that includes a series of measures to make energy production and the lifestyle of the European citizens more sustainable for the environment. The European Union has committed, in line with Paris Agreement, to zero its net polluting emissions by 2050. In this regard, the Union will help the regions that are the most affected by the move towards the green economy through the so-called Just Transition mechanism. For each objective of the Green Deal, the European Commission will first define a strategic plan and then a concrete action plan to implement it. For example, in 2021, the Commission is revising the legislation on CO2 emission performance standards for cars and for vans. As for transport, that represents 25% of European Union greenhouse gas emissions, the Green Deal includes a target to reduce transport-related emissions by 90% by 2050. Transport will go digital and multimodal. Prices will reflect the impacts on the environment. There will be stricter standards on pollution by cars and about 1 million public charging stations in place for the 13 million zero and low emission vehicles expected on the European roads by then. But how to make this plan operational for the transport sector? The European Commission has adopted in December 2020 the so-called Sustainable and Smart Mobility Strategy. As for the electrification of urban transport and logistics, the strategy sets some dedicated targets. By 2030, a considerable number of zero-emission cars and lorries should be on the European Union roads. A minimum of 100 cities should be climate neutral, and collective travel under 500 kilometers should be carbon neutral. By 2050, nearly all vehicles should be zero-emission. The strategy also claims that coordinated action by the European Union is needed to supplement and reinforce the national and local action. Already the 2011 White Paper on Transport and the 2013 Urban Mobility Package, both policy documents of the European Commission, dealt with urban logistics. The first sets the objective of achieving essentially CO2-free city logistics in major urban centers by 2030. The second defined a series of actions and measures of competence of the European Union in the field of urban logistics, demand management, modal shift, and vehicles and fuels improvements. But let's hear directly from the European Commission about the latest initiatives that they are taking to decarbonize the urban logistics sector, while at the same time keeping it competitive and efficient.
So I said we will start from the policy context. You know that the Green Deal, the European Green Deal really set as a target 90% reduction on transport emissions by 2050 with a milestone of 55% reductions by 2030. To the purpose of reaching this target, DG Move prepared a strategy, Sustainable and Smart Mobility Strategy, which was published in December, and sets the ambitions and the visions for the future of transport. This strategy contains 3 main objectives, so sustainable, smart and resilient mobility, with 10 flagships. I will not go through them, and an action plan with very concrete policy activities. The mobility framework, urban mobility framework, will have a specific part, will touch upon urban freight transport and logistics. Our objective and ambition is really to support cities in achieving carbon neutral logistics with a focus on the 10T urban nodes. And the ambition is really to have zero emission delivery, at least in urban nodes by 2030, and then possibly to extend it to other cities by 2040. How can we do this? We are looking at different areas, even if the content is still tentative, because we are elaborating this, of course, also with you, with the stakeholders. But the idea is to have a more strategic policy part supporting the uptake of sustainable urban logistics plans, and then also have focus on what we can call some measures that goes from spatial planning, multimodal consolidation centers, greening first and last mile, uptake of new innovative solutions and innovative delivery methods, but also data provision, data exchange on platforms. So a number of activities. And you see that these areas are really reflected in the breakout sessions of the workshop today. How this is going to happen? Of course, this will be included in the communication and the staff working documents, as I mentioned, but we will link also to a number of other activities, for instance, on the 10T revised regulation, on funding programs. So this policy will be reflected in Horizon Europe calls, in Connecting Europe facility, in the structural funds, and other areas, for instance, on the Green Cargo flagship or activities from the colleagues in DG Klima.
There is much more to read and learn about the Green Deal and the urban mobility policy by the European Commission. Make sure you look at the additional materials list that we have prepared for you. And thanks again for listening, and until next time.